What's up? What's up? What's up?
Hey guys.
Welcome back to All Things Marriage. We're your hosts, Derek
and Crystal Robinson.
We, as always, want to thank you all for all the love and support that you guys have been giving us, for all the likes, all the shares, all the comments. Much appreciations.
Yes, and we hope that you all had a wonderful Christmas and holiday season, Kwanzaa. If you're celebrating Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, everybody. And we hope that you enjoy family, friends. We understand COVID, so keep safe, guys.
So this week, we're going to be discussing compromise.
Yeah.
What does compromise look in relationship and marriage? How do we compromise? What things are we compromising on, right? That's what we're going to be talking about on this week.
Yeah, and compromise is it's
a
heavy
lot
in relationships and marriage. Sometimes compromise, we don't know how to do it. We have to learn how to do it. We have to learn what to compromise, what can't be compromised. Yes, guys, some things
aren't compromisable.
Yeah, they're deal breakers. They're what we call deal breakers.
Right.
So we have to learn how to compromise, how to because you can say, well, what is compromise? There's no necessarily how to compromise, but there is a way to compromise.
Exactly.
You could be, one person wants something, the other person doesn't, and we have to navigate to where is the compromise in having both individuals get something that is that's going to satisfy us.
Right. So, Miss Counselor, and I know you kind of just described it a little bit, but from a relationship standpoint, what is compromise?
Compromise is, I would say in short, is two individuals meeting at a midpoint on a decision or an activity or a lifelong, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but just coming together for those lifelong goals and missions.
Okay. So lifelong goals and missions. Is it always a life decision or
the compromising? Yes, this is a lifelong thing.
Okay.
Maybe not for the activity that you're doing or the decision that you're making. It may not be a lifelong thing. It could be, I want to, wash the cars on Wednesdays. And you want to wash the cars on Fridays. And it's just what's the meeting point? Because neither one of guys, I'm going to give simple, childish examples, not to always jab at people. I want you to feel threatened. But it's just simply compromise. Well, you want to do it Wednesday, I want to do it Friday, and neither one of our schedules work for the time that you want to get the car washed. So how about we do Saturday or Sunday or another day that is neither one of us, one of our days that we want to, in order to make the compromise better for the both of us.
Okay, cool. So for me, before we even talk about compromising, let's briefly tackle communication. Let's do that.
Because, that's necessary.
Right, because
it is definitely necessary.
The foundation for any level of compromise is learning how to communicate, how to talk to each other. Without, like you said, taking jabs at each other.
Because I don't want to hear anything you want to compromise on if I can't communicate with you and feel as though you're hearing and listening to what I'm saying.
Right. So for me, and I like to say generally guys as a whole, but I do understand that every guy's not like me and I'm not like every guy, right? But I feel like I can comfortably say for men, communication is difficult. We are sensitive creatures.
Oh, wow.
Sensitive in the sense of ego.
And I want to say wow because you don't hear many guys say that men are sensitive, but I understand.
Right, but sensitive in the sense of ego, right? And so if any man who's a man who's like a for real man, if we feel as though we're being attacked, being belittled, being disregarded or disrespected, everything else after that gets cut off.
Right.
You can shut that down.
Right.
Right. And so for men, it's imperative that coming into a conversation, coming into a compromise, their counterparts, whether it's a wife, a girlfriend, a parent, a boss, a subordinate, anyone, it's imperative that coming into that conversation, there is a level of respect and a level of understanding and a level of, I'm not trying to force you into a thing. I want to work with you. Let me hear you out, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of important, because I know myself.
Right.
If I feel like I'm being disrespected, it's a wrap. Right. Either I'm not dealing with you or I'm finna let you know.
Right.
That's
right.
That's
and
it.
It's definitely having that communication is key, because like you said, if you don't feel as though you're respected or heard, or that your opinion and decision matters,
right,
then I'm not compromising anything with you
at all.
I'm gonna do it absolutely whatever I want to,
regardless
of what you think. And if you like it, then oh well. If you don't, I don't really care, because you allow me not to feel as though what I wanted mattered.
Right. And that's within reason. There are some caveats to that can be taken too far, right? Because everything,
he used his word caveat.
Oh, whatever. It's one of my favorite words for right now. But everything, one thing that we have to realize is everything is not disrespect.
Right.
Just because I disagree with you, that doesn't mean I'm disrespecting you.
Yeah.
Just because I have a strong opinion and I'm vocalizing it doesn't mean that I'm disrespecting you.
Nugget here, guys. In relationships, just because he or I disagree with one another does not mean I'm being disrespectful or he's being disrespectful to me.
Right.
We're not going to always agree.
Right.
That's the whole point of compromise.
Right.
We're not going to agree always, and it's not saying that he or I are wrong because we don't agree on everything.
Right, exactly. It's and to me that's the link between the conversation or the communication and the compromise, and understanding how to compromise is it's first understanding how to talk to the person you're compromising with, how to address your partner where they are in their understanding of whatever your subject matter is,
right,
and the understanding the way that they communicate and how they talk. Some people are very vocal and very authoritative in their tone, and so if you know that your partner has an authoritative tone, or they're kind of loud,
or from the outside looking in can be abrasive in their tone. Right.
It's important that you understand that tone doesn't mean that they're angry or fussing at you.
Right.
If you know that's just the way that they talk. Similarly to the person who is a little bit abrasive and a little bit more aggressive in tone, you have to understand that your partner may receive it as you being angry or you're being upset. Or if you're the more dominant one vocally, you may have to temper that a little bit and settle yourself and pull back to make that your partner feel comfortable to talk. So
second nugget, we have to examine ourselves.
Right.
So that we can approach our partner in order to compromise.
Right. And not just to compromise, but
anything.
For them to be receptive of what it is you're saying, right? So, I mean, I guess that's kind of understanding how you're supposed to compromise, or at least the beginnings of how to compromise.
Yeah.
But when do you compromise? Like, when is that even on the table?
Compromise should be on the table early on in your dating phase. I'm not gonna say early on in your dating phase, but in your dating phase,
right?
It should be compromise how we're going to make things work, because a lot of the times I think we have that mindset that when we get married, we can start doing all of these things.
Right.
And it's just like, no, we have to practice marriage and dating. Not every aspect. Let's not get that wrong.
Right.
We practice certain things and certain personalities.
Right.
When we're dating,
right, that
allows myself and my partner to know
right,
that, okay, this person is marriage material.
Right. Bible, drop a quick Bible verse for all of my saved, sanctified people out there, right?
Or wanting to be saved.
Or wanting to be, right? But the Bible does say that he who finds a wife finds a good thing, but that implies that the person is already a wife when you find them, not someone else's wife.
Okay.
but that person is already showing and displaying and operating in the qualities of wifehood.
Yes.
But the only way for the man to recognize the qualities of wife is they have to also have and display and operate in the qualities of husband.
Yep.
Right? So as a single man, I can't find a wife because my mind is single. I have to be in the mind of husbandship in order to find a woman who is willing to live in, walk in, and submit in wifeship, right? Yeah. So to your point, you have to practice the relationship even before the relationship. You have to practice the compromise and the willingness to do so even before the areas of compromise arise, right?
And it's not, we're gonna compromise and I'll propose to you if you have sex with me.
Right. That's not.
I don't want to.
That's an ultimatum.
Yes, I have to test the product before I can say this is what I want.
Right. That's not compromise.
Those are some of the deal breakers of, okay, sure, if that's what you want, but that's not what I want. Right. That doesn't mean that we have to do X, Y, and Z before we get married.
Right. And compromise, and I'll understand too that compromise isn't always a tit for tat. If so facto, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Right. Sometimes compromise isn't us sitting there, okay, so I want to do this and you want to do that. Let's go ahead. Sometimes as the wife or the husband, I say, well, I know Derek likes X, Y, and Z.
Right.
I don't necessarily care for it.
Right.
I don't have a feeling either way.
Right.
Or I don't like this, but it doesn't hurt me to do it.
Right.
So even before I talk to him, I'll just go ahead and make a note. I'm going to do this because my husband likes it.
Really, really good example of that. On both ends of the spectrum. I love seafood. I love my crab legs. I love my lobster. Clams, oysters, scallops, fish of all shapes and sizes. I love seafood, right? Not so much on this side. She's not a seafood person. So for us, an unspoken compromise was, I understand that she doesn't like seafood. She doesn't like the smell of it, whatever. I love it, but I don't need it. So when we go to get groceries or when we're planning on what we're eating, I don't even suggest seafood. It's not even on the table because I understand two things. One, she doesn't like it. And if we do decide, okay, I'm going to get seafood, that typically means we're cooking two things, right? That just doesn't make sense. I don't have to have it that bad. However, when we do go out to restaurants or things of that nature and there's a seafood option, this may mean that she can't share my food, but I'm ordering shrimp. I'm gonna order me some shrimp or some salmon or lobster or crab legs or whatever. We've even gone out to seafood specific restaurants because she knows that that's what I want, right? And so again, the compromise in that instance wasn't even a spoken thing. It wasn't conversation that we had.
Right.
It was just the understanding that what the other one's wishes and desires, likes and dislikes,
right.
and being willing to adjust accordingly for the sake of peace.
Right. And then on the flip side, sometimes I will say, I'm going to order or get seafood for the house,
right.
and learn recipes to cook it. I may not eat it, and then I'll say, how does it taste? Because I don't know.
Right. Because she's definitely cooked shrimp and pasta for me on several different occasions. Bake some fish and all that other stuff. So again, it is a give and take in attitude. It's a give and take and mentality and approach, not necessarily I'm going to do this if you do that. Right. That's an ultimatum. Right. And relationships don't typically work well in ultimatums.
Not at all. Right. Not at all. You're going to end up with animosity if you stay together.
Right. You're gonna, if you stay together.
Yeah, you're going to end up with animosity, a person feeling as though, like he said earlier, his or her opinion and thoughts and desires in the relationship is irrelevant or unimportant, and that doesn't lead to a strong relationship. It does not lead to a strong foundation. It leads to two bitter people, because it's going to end that way. Two bitter people, even though one person may seem like they're getting everything,
right,
you're not going to get what you need from your partner,
right,
and that's going to in turn make you bitter, have animosity towards your partner, and everything that you do together is just going to be built on dislike. You're going to have a negative, frustration. You're going to have a negative attitude towards this person. Well, they don't matter. And you're going to start talking to other people about this, or either showing other people how your relationship is.
Right. Rather than talking to your partner and coming to a solution to that disagreement.
Right.
You'll be bringing that to other people and ultimately making your partner, making your relationship, and making yourself look bad. So let's talk about these deal breakers, because you mentioned deal breakers a little while ago. What's a deal breaker?
Deal breakers can be, it depends, it varies from relationship to relationship, but deal breakers can be anything of, like I said earlier, well, we can have sex first before we get engaged. We can live together before we get married. Some those deal breakers can be deal breakers, and it's either or. The one that wants you to move in, the one that doesn't want to move in, stuff like that. Deal breakers within the marriage after the fact could be, which should honestly come up in conversation beforehand. How many children do we want? Do we want children at all? I know we were looking at why did I get married, or not why did I get married? And who was it? Which ones were, I can't remember that. I want to say Angela and Marcus.
In Tyler Perry's Why Did I Get Married? Tyler Perry's character and his wife were discussing children. The husband wanted children, the wife didn't.
They had one girl already. And he wanted his boy. The compromise in her mind was having a child at all, period. You wanted a boy, we attempted, we got pregnant, we had a girl. That's the compromise. The compromise was me even getting pregnant in the first place. Tyler Perry was just like, well, the compromise is a boy. Pretty much. He wanted his boy. And she, which I didn't agree with, was she went and got her tubes tied without talking to her husband. And it was this big tension in their relationship after Tyler Perry figured it out. But we discussed how the compromise was made. The compromise was them having a child. One didn't want any children. One wanted a son at least. And she compromised and had a child.
And here's the good movie, by the way. Here's the flaw in that for me, as an onlooker. There was a compromise made, but there wasn't an understanding gathered.
That communication.
The communication was lacking because, first and foremost, that's one thing that it's difficult to compromise on. I want children. I don't want children. Yeah. That seems like a definitive winner and loser. Either I'm getting what I want and you're not, or you're getting what you want and I'm not. So it's hard to say find an even ground there, right? And so again, in that instance, the wife's mentality was, well, I didn't want children at all. I gave you a child, so I'm well within my rights to get my tubes tied and not say anything because we've already discussed the fact that I didn't want them. Boom, we're good.
Yeah.
There wasn't any understanding gathered.
Right.
The communication wasn't there. And so now you have the husband who's just like, let's try for a boy, try for a boy, try for a boy. She's just like, I mean, I'm busy. I gotta work.
Because I feel
later.
Right, because I feel like in her mind, like you said, he got what he wanted.
Right.
So now I'm going to go back doing what I wanted to do, which was working all the time.
Right.
You got what you wanted.
which realistically wasn't compromise. That was a case of we discussed and
I gave
in. We didn't come to an understanding and an agreement.
And we didn't communicate, effectively what that would look like. How are we now going to parent this child?
Right.
The discussion probably wasn't had. We don't know because it's a movie,
Right,
but
exactly.
This happens in real life.
Right.
It wasn't, when we have a baby, I do expect you to pull back on your hours at work. I do expect, you to be home more with us and the children and stuff like that. So in her mind, she had it
worked out one way.
He had it worked out another way. And that communication on the compromise wasn't had.
Right. And so how that relates to deal breakers. So for me, a deal breaker, like this whole child thing in this particular instance, a deal breaker is something that compromises or alters or conflicts with your moral standing, your personal values, I'm not gonna say your way of living, but your understanding and your personal stance on yourself, right? So like if, let's just say, and this may be a bit of a dark example.
Okay.
Right?
I'm scared.
No. But let's just say, because one thing that a lot of couples, especially as the relationship goes on, couples tend to struggle with, sexuality, right? And let's just say you have one of the partners who has experienced sexual trauma. And so sexuality is a soft spot. Whereas the other partner is... What's the word? Right? Is inquisitive. The other partner is really inquisitive on the sexual end of things. Even though the concept of compromise says, okay, well, you give me a little bit of this and then I won't press the issue, you have to understand your partner's stance. That may not be something that you can compromise on because it's a trigger point for your partner. It brings back a level of trauma. It challenges their personal values, or it compromises or it alters the type of person that they can be, right? It changes them intrinsically. And so you have to be careful with compromise. That's the importance of the communication and understanding when it's an area of, okay, yeah, we can definitely come to some understanding on this, or it's an area of, look, you know, I love you, I want this to work, but this is just something I cannot do.
Yeah, and I like how you said the compromise. You have to be careful with the compromise because it can change you or the other person.
Right.
And that's even when, in instances like some people, I'm not going to say men, some people, women and men, want to have multiple partners. They have the open relationship. And
I don't like it.
They want to be married to their partner. They see building and you know, building a life together with that person, but they just want to explore sexually with other people. Right. Either with their spouse or with somebody else.
Right.
But those types of things it's not even a can. They will change
your relationship dynamic
or the other person's relationship with one another. No matter how much we say, I'm fine with it. You know, we're happy. You know, this is a healthy relationship for us. We both agreed on it.
Right.
There's going to come some point in time that is going to change the way you all operate with one another. It's going to change how the person looks at the other person who wants it or may have agreed with it and then went and did, because I have not met a male, at least yet, who wants to know or see or think about their partner
being with someone else. It don't work.
It just doesn't. It really doesn't.
It don't work. It just doesn't work.
You know, you have a lot of guys who don't care how many partners you've slept with or been with, but then you have a lot of guys. If you are a female who have, and this is not to slight anyone, I understand we all have past.
Right.
We experience how we experience and stuff like that. But you have, if we're being honest,
right.
We have guys who do not like to know that their spouse or their girlfriend has had sexual relationships with other people. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know, you know, in details. It kind of makes them sick or upset.
Right.
That was a part of, you know, their partner's past.
Right. And so that's a bit of a tangent, but it's still with the compromise thing, because again, it's the idea that coming up with these compromises or being willing to compromise on certain things and what not to compromise on. Again, if it changes drastically your viewpoint about yourself, about your partner, about your relationship, if making this compromise and doing this thing, whatever the thing may be, alters how you sleep at night, like you can't rest easy, you know, you feel belittled, you feel disrespected, you feel like less of a person, and doing this, then that may be something you can't compromise on. That's what we mean when we say it challenges or it goes against your moral values,
right.
or
and it doesn't help the relationship.
Right.
You know, you can't communicate properly, you can't build and grow together, you can't you can't progress in your relationship. You can't think about having children with this person because they made me do, because that's honestly what you're gonna feel. They made me do something, even though you said, yeah, okay, let's do that. And your partner is thinking, okay, we talked, we compromised, and everything's fine. And it's just like, nope, you made me do X, Y, and Z.
And that's the importance of the communication piece again. It's being willing to see the other person's need and the other person's perspective while not losing sight of your own, and being able to openly and freely discuss and come to not just a middle ground, but a mutual understanding. Because again, we can come to a middle ground, But if we're at that middle ground with no understanding of how or why this is the middle, how or why this is okay, and options A, B, and C weren't okay, then it's not an effective compromise, because you will end up in a situation where I'm resenting you or you're resenting me. I feel lost. I don't feel I can trust you anymore because this thing betrays my trust. You're making me do something, right? It's imperative that we as adults, we as men and women, as partners in our relationships, learn to communicate effectively and compromise. You have to, like, they go hand in hand.
They do.
They go hand in hand. You cannot have compromise without effective communication.
Right. And in effective communication, you have effective listening, you have comprehension. Because we can communicate all day and think we've done a great job at it, but the other one doesn't understand, or I don't understand what we just talked about. I felt like I got it all out, but I didn't. And, you know, maybe he needed some time, and we have to make sure that we're comprehending, we're listening, we're asking questions when we need to ask questions, or we don't understand. And honestly, compromise and communication, sometimes it doesn't happen in one sitting. Maybe sometimes we have to spend a few days on this, or a couple of weeks on this. And you may say, well, a couple of weeks to compromise, because some situations require that length, and you have to be patient. You have to be understanding. Like we said, you have to be willing to come to a resolve that works best for the both of you, so that you can move past this one, because there's several that's coming after it. And if you learn one, you can, you know, copy and paste.
Exactly. The process anyway. You can definitely copy and paste. So let's run through real quick. For those who may have missed the front end, we're talking about communication and compromise. Communication is key to compromising. Effective communication, right? Understanding your partner and their needs and their desires. Understanding what works for them and what works for you, right? Knowing what things are compromisable, what things are on the table, and what's a deal breaker, and what makes the deal breaker a deal breaker. Does it conflict with your moral values? Does it make you feel belittled or disrespected? Is it a point of trauma? If it falls under those types of categories, then it may be a deal breaker, and it may not be something to compromise on. And be sure to not disrespect that aspect in yourself or for your partner.
And I just want to let you know, I feel disrespected.
If she say she is disrespected about a sock on the floor, I promise you. Go ahead, sweetie.
I'm disrespected because I have to drive, guys.
Oh my gosh. We definitely share the driving responsibilities. Anyway, that's a subject for another day. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. Share us on all your social media platforms. Drop a comment in the comment section.
Let us know how you compromise, what you think about not that part. Let us know what you think about compromising in relationships. Send us an email to allthingsmarriage.16@gmail.com. Drop it in the comment sections. Remember to like and share, subscribe.
And we'll catch you next week. All Things Marriage.
All right. Bye-bye.